Hi, my name's Captain Koala, and I lost my virginity at 18, and this is how Pikmin changed my life. I have never played a Pikmin game before. That was until June of 2023 when Nintendo re-released Pikmin 1 and 2 for the Switch. For years, the only thing I knew about Pikmin was that there was a representative in Smash Bros. I had never played a Pikmin game before, nor had I seen anyone play a Pikmin game before. I had friends that were huge fans of the franchise, and that praised the games for their style and gameplay. But I had never played one before, so I decided that since they were re-releasing it and Pikmin 4 was on the way, now would be the best time for me to get into the franchise. So when I booted up Pikmin for the first time, everything was new. Now the first day in Pikmin did not set the tone for how the rest of the 30 were going to go. It seemed very calming and relaxing at first. Never playing a Pikmin game before and watching my hard work drown in a small pool was heartbreaking. It was then that I realized I needed to make sure that I had an abundance of Pikmin because I was definitely going to lose more than that. How they were able to differentiate the three kinds of Pikmin was awesome. You had the red Pikmin, which had a big, pointy nose. You had the yellow Pikmin that had massive ears, and you had the blue Pikmin that had a mouth that was agape 90% of the time. Now the characteristics didn't stop there. Like mentioned before, I didn't realize that not every Pikmin could go into the water, so having a blue Pikmin be associated with water was another thing that I appreciated, and the red Pikmin being immune to fire was another. Now, the yellow Pikmin didn't have electricity immunity yet. However, it was the only Pikmin that was able to carry the explosive rocks, at least this time. Now, something some of you will come to find out is that my favorite color is purple. However, I didn't want to instantly say that the purple Pikmin was my favorite because I hadn't spent any time with it before. So for right now, in the first game, the blue Pikmin was my favorite because there was not a thought behind those eyes except for fear. Out of all the Pikmin, this one always looked the most scared, and I loved that. Now don't get me wrong, I love the other two Pikmin too, but the fact that they each had their own personality made me love them each differently. Now let's get into the story. You crash land on a planet, and all of your ship parts have been scattered across different areas. To obtain your parts, you have to use Pikmin to carry them back to your ship. Some of the parts are out in the open, some of them you have to defeat enemies for, and some of them you have to solve puzzles. By far, my least favorite boss in this game was the burrowing Snagret. I could not for the life of me get my Pikmin onto its face in order to do damage. Now I know that the yellow Pikmin you can throw higher, but the depth was awful for me. I struggled so hard that I gave up on beating it until later in the game. I refused to go back. It was so frustrating. I had quit multiple times because of it. But when I finally got all those ship parts and went to the final location to beat the final boss, I felt a sense of accomplishment. Not because I had beat a game, but because I was able to beat the game in the time that it was given me. The games I'm used to playing are games like Pokemon and Celeste and Spider-Man for the PlayStation. Those games don't give you a time limit to beat them. You can beat them however fast or however slow you want. Playing Pikmin and only having 30 days to finish it and get all 30 parts, or 25, was a challenge, and I welcomed it. I didn't always like having the 30-day challenge, though, because when I got halfway through the game, I realized that I wasn't going to beat it in the time I was given. But I refused to admit defeat and tried my best to get the remaining ship parts in the time I had left. And I was even able to get all 30 parts, which I was not expecting to do at this time. People that I had watched for years like Arlo were always praising these games, but I had never experienced them. I then quickly moved into Pikmin 2, which I have to say was a big change of pace. Pikmin 2 picks up where the last one left off. You land at Hocotate Freight, and your boss tells you that he has a massive debt to repay, and that he needs your help to repay it. Now, instead of giving you time off like you deserve, he sells your ship and sends you back to the planet to collect objects to sell to help pay off his debt. Now, I don't know how OSHA allowed this up at Hocotate, but if it were me, I would have quit on the spot. But Olimar has a family and responsibilities, so he went back to the planet with a new friend, Louie, and he collected parts in order to sell to pay back the debt. Now, this time there was no time limit, which I was fine with, but I actually enjoyed it more being able to experience the game at my own pace and see the things that I wanted to see because it allowed for me to see some of the things that I wouldn't have seen if I was on a time limit. And I know there's people that are upset that the licensed objects in the game were removed, but I had never played the games before, so it did not affect me one bit. Now, I do wish I was able to see the Vlasic pickle jar lid, because that would have been magical. Moving along to the Pikmin that were introduced to us. We got 2 new Pikmin this time, being the white and purple. Now, like I had said before, purple's my favorite color, but I didn't want to base that off of which Pikmin I liked most, because that would just be biased. The game quickly shows you that the attribute this Pikmin has is that it is much stronger than the others. It has the strength of 5 Pikmin when carrying objects, and can stun enemies when thrown at them. That, paired with its fantastic design, made it quickly grow on me to be one of my favorite Pikmin. Moving on to the white Pikmin. The white Pikmin were great. They were able to poison enemies if swallowed, and they were also able to disable poison traps in caves. And I did like that their eyes were solid red instead of the normal Pikmin eyes. But something about that voluptuous, thick, juicy purple Pikmin. Anyway, this time around there was no set amount of objects you had to collect. Each object had a different value assigned to it, which means you didn't have to collect a certain number of things in order to beat the game. As long as you paid back all 10,000 coins, you were fine. Now going back to the story. There is a new playable character named Louie. I wasn't the biggest fan of him. I did love the train whistle they used for him. It was so unique and it made him so goofy and funny to me that I liked using him sometimes just to hear the train whistle. Having 2 playable characters did have its perks, but I found myself only using one most of the game. The only time I ever used Olimar and Louie separately was so I could get tasks done quicker and get through caves faster. Speaking of the caves, these were brutal. There were some of them that were very tame that you could get through easily, and then there were some that took you forever and had a boss at the end that was almost impossible to beat if you didn't have a ton of Pikmin left. And let me tell you, I would get to the end of these caves and have like 5 Pikmin. I hope when I die and go to hell I see the Snagret down there where it belongs. Now, like I said before, not having a time limit gave me the chance to experience the game at my own pace, and I really appreciated that, because this game was one that I had a lot more fun with because I wasn't constrained to 30 days. I did, however, try my best to beat the game in a 30-day time limit, but I knew I wasn't constricted to that. When you do pay off your debt, though, that's it. At least, that's what I thought. So you get back to Hocotate Freight with your debt paid off, and then you realize that you kind of left Louie back there. So then the game's not over. You get to play as the president and get Louie back. I loved Pikmin 2. Not as much as I loved the first one, because the first one was more of a challenge, but Pikmin 2 was definitely more relaxing for me. And it's one that I would definitely go back to and play again, just to have a relaxing Pikmin experience, and not have to rush through to make sure I got everything done in time. It was then that I took a little break away from Pikmin, until I decided to play Pikmin 3. Now, Pikmin 3 was interesting, because there were now 3 characters you played as, and none of them were Olimar. You had Alf, Brittany, and Charlie. Let's get into the story. Pikmin 3 stars Charlie, Brittany, and Alf as they try and save a dying planet. Now, Pikmin 3 doesn't have a strict time limit. However, if you don't collect enough fruit to make juice, then your game's over. Having 3 characters to split up tasks between made it a lot easier to get things done in the time given. You were able to command Brittany to go somewhere and Alf to go somewhere, all while you command Charlie to do what you need. Now, with the introduction of 2 new Pikmin being the Winged Pikmin and the Rock Pikmin, there were some new obstacles that were brought to the table. The Winged Pikmin could lift up gates to let you through and also fly over water, while the Rock Pikmin could break glass and crystals to reveal hidden objects. Now, seeing that I like the Blue Pikmin because of the personality, the Rock Pikmin was an instant favorite. The absolute stare of the Rock Pikmin, having 0 emotion whatsoever, is hilarious to me. After you crash land, you're tasked with finding a key that can send you back home. It turns out that the person that might have that key is none other than Olimar himself, so you set on a quest to find him. And once you find Olimar, you bring him back to your ship in hopes that he can help you get home. It's only when you wake up the next day and realize that he had stolen all of your food that you get sent into a panic. See, I went from having 36 days worth of juice to having none at all. So you quickly have to find Olimar in order to get your juice back. Once you find Olimar, you bring him back to your ship and tie him up. In the morning, they find that Olimar is in fact Louis. And then begins the final act of the game, finding Olimar. Through Louis, you find that Olimar is stuck in the Twilight River. Then you embark on your journey. You go up this tree and find Olimar sitting there, but something's definitely not right. Once you encounter Olimar, a massive gold creature appears, and it turns into a massive chase to get back to your ship. Now this chase took me a while, because I was rushing to try and get as far as I could, and then I realized I needed more Pikmin. I needed yellow Pikmin to light up the caves, and I needed winged Pikmin to carry things for me. Needless to say, I did not come prepared the first couple of times. But after a couple tries, I was able to finish. Once you save Olimar, he gives you the key that you need to get back to your planet. And that's the game. See, Pikmin 3 had somewhat of a time limit to it in the form of the juice. I definitely didn't skip a game that came out between Pikmin 3 and 4 because it doesn't exist. And it definitely isn't a platformer, and it definitely wasn't on the 3DS. As we eagerly await the release of Pikmin 4, I realize now why people love this franchise so much. Looking back at when people would get excited each direct hoping that there would be Pikmin 4 news, makes me understand why now people were so excited to see it. And in just a couple of days we get to experience it, and I have mine pre-ordered. I hope that clears up how Pikmin changed my life, because it really is a game that I have enjoyed a lot, and I would go back and play plenty of times in the future. With that being said, I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please hit the like button and subscribe for future content. See ya.